Hey everybody, welcome in for episode 28. Today we're going to do a deep dive into the 4 different body types. In this video, we're going to break down the 4 main different body types and how they impact your weight loss journey. You know, everyone knows it's weight loss season, and we're going to try to give you the best strategy tailored just for you for your body type. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to approach weight loss for your specific body type. The 4 different body types are all very unique. They all have different characteristics, different traits. Dr. Whiting's going to go into them a lot deeper and kind of, explain what the keys are, what the best ways to handle different situations for the 4 body types, and how your body reacts to various foods and nutrients. The first one we're going to discuss is probably the most common, right? Carbohydrate intolerance.
Yeah, sadly, it's become the most common. It never used to be, but it is now.
Yeah, and I'm carbohydrate intolerant, so I know quite a bit about this. And Dr. Whiting helped me lose 60 pounds quite a long time ago, and I've been able to maintain my weight now ever since then. And that's been, I think, over 5, 6, maybe even 7 years. Tell us a little bit about carbohydrate intolerance.
Well, the second in our weight management series, we are going to go into a bit of detail. First and foremost, carbohydrate intolerance. What that basically means is that when you have a diet that's relatively high in sugar-forming foods, which are all carbohydrates for the most part, your body eventually reacts in a negative way. And what essentially is happening is when anybody eats carbohydrates, doesn't matter whether you're intolerant or not, okay, when you consume carbohydrates, they convert to blood glucose. And when that happens, your body produces insulin. And insulin is a hormone from the pancreas designed to regulate, remove, and store glucose.
And it comes from your pancreas.
It comes from the pancreas.
Okay.
So think of insulin as the fat storage hormone.
Okay.
So now if you happen to have a body type that produces excess insulin on a somewhat regular basis, and you have the hereditary and or genetic markers for this problem, what happens is that you begin to increasingly produce insulin in response to the diet of carbs. And over time, you become what we call insulin resistant. And insulin resistant means that you need extra insulin to do the job of removing blood sugar.
Okay.
And where does it go? It goes in the fat cell.
Okay.
Because blood glucose is converted to glycogen, which is converted to triglyceride, which goes in the fat cell. And
it's stored in there.
It's stored in the fat cell for later use, and later use never comes along because we are constantly shoveling in refined carbohydrates in the standard industrialized diet.
Yeah.
So if this is your body type, then we need to focus on regulating carbohydrate intake. We have to greatly reduce carbohydrate intake, especially in the first 6 to 8 weeks.
And in that first, for a whole host of reasons, you should be taking blood sugar support and one of the full spectrum supplements from Phoenix Vitamins to help that along, right?
Absolutely. Here's the deal, folks. One of the main reasons for weight loss failure, and we're going to get into those in detail down the road here. But one of them is what we call nutrient deficiencies.
Yeah.
If your body is deficient in nutrients, it's going to perceive that as a state of semi-starvation. And what would the body do in a state like that?
Store more fat.
Store more fat, conserve energy, slow your metabolism, all the wonderful things that you do not want.
Oh, nutrient deficiency actually leads to slower metabolism too.
Absolutely, because the body thinks it's starving.
That makes sense.
Because we don't eat food just for caloric intake. We eat it for nutrient intake, hopefully.
Yeah.
And so when those nutrients are missing, the body sees it as starvation, and it actually increases your appetite.
And then that creates the cycle.
Yeah, and then round, robin we go. So when we deal with carbohydrate intolerance, we have a program that will greatly limit carbohydrate intake for the first 6 to 8 weeks. One of the big pitfalls for carb intolerant people is food cravings.
Yeah.
Because refined carbohydrates are highly addictive, and that's evidenced by the fact that people can't stop eating them. Well, we developed a formula at our institute several years ago, and Phoenix Nutritionals offers it under the name blood sugar support. And that formula is designed to spare, regulate, modulate glucose. And in turn, it greatly reduces or even eliminates cravings for starch and sugary foods, making this process a whole lot easier and a whole lot more pleasant than it might be otherwise.
So it stops the cravings and it balances the insulin blood sugar.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's ideal. And of course, with all of our programs, when we bring a client in, we absolutely require that they take a full spectrum supplement such as your High Vitality or your High Vitality caps. Because again, starvation is perceived by the body when nutrient deficiencies are present.
And so the next one would be someone who gains weight even when you're not overeating, like being calorie sensitive. Managing caloric intake differently could make all the difference in reaching the goals for those people. So tell us a little bit about calorie sensitive people and a little bit about the best Slim Cleanse and how full spectrum affects that also.
Well, people who are calorie sensitive are responding in a negative way biologically or metabolically to excess caloric intake.
And don't 99% of dietitians teach that as the key to all dieting?
Yes.
And it's wrong.
As far as they're concerned,
it's all caloric intake.
Yeah, and all you got to do to lose weight is eat less.
Completely ridiculous.
Yeah, it makes no logical sense. Creates more deficiencies, creates more starvation, creates more craving.
If I did that, I would be fatter. I would be double as fat as I was.
But there are people who are genuinely calorie sensitive.
Yeah.
And for those folks, what we have to do is we have to modulate calorie intake. So we've got to reduce calories overall, as opposed to the carbohydrate folks, where we're just focusing on carbs.
So carbohydrate folks, they have to limit carbs in the first 4 to 6 weeks heavy. Yeah. And then they can moderately bring them back.
And then we get them into a more ongoing program.
Yeah, like me. Like I can have carbs whenever I want now. I just have to manage it in the right time. So do calorie sensitive do the same way? They have to do the same?
We start out with a lower caloric intake.
Okay.
But we only do it for a specific period of time, usually 4 weeks. Because what we want to do is we want to avoid the stimulation of starvation hormones.
Yeah.
And so once we get the body burning better, then we can use things such as herbal extracts that will help accelerate the metabolism. And those can be found in Phoenix's Slim Cleanse formula, which helps to detoxify the liver, the pancreas, other organs of elimination.
Oh, okay. That was my next question, was how do they benefit from, how do calorie sensitive people benefit from Slim Cleanse?
That'd be the way. And of course, they have to take a full spectrum supplement. It doesn't matter what category your body falls under. You need to do that, because if you're consuming less food or less varieties of food, then obviously you're getting less nutrients.
Yeah.
Now, the biggest pitfall for calorie people is that they consume too little food.
Oh.
Oddly enough, remember, when people are on a weight management program, they want to get it all done and over with and be beautiful by Friday.
Yeah, well, that's
just human nature, okay?
Yeah.
We want it quick, fast, and easy. which is why all the shoot 'em up drugs are so popular now.
Yeah.
And we'll discuss that perhaps another time. But carbohydrate people, their problem is addictive cravings for starch and sugar. The calorie person, their biggest single problem is consuming too little food. And it works psychologically like this. If I'm on a 1,200 calorie diet,
Okay.
which is how we start our folks out,
Okay.
and then we move them in 4 weeks to 1,400. Well, people who are brainwashed about dieting and counting calories, because that's what the industry has promoted for so long, they figure, well, if I'm losing a pound a week on 1,200 calories, what if I consume only 1,000?
Oh, yeah. And it backfires.
Yeah, and then what if I go down to 800? And pretty soon, you know what happens? Their weight loss stops, even though they're eating hundreds of calories less, because the body perceives starvation, and it's going to shut the metabolism down to a screeching halt.
So then, about the people who have the combination chemistry.
Oh, the lucky folks.
Yeah, and they're basically, their body's pulling them in all different directions. Sometimes they react to carbs, other times they react to calories. And this combination chemistry is kind of unique. It's kind of strange to me of how this one actually works. You really have to do a personalized approach to this one, right?
Yes. And this is why our weight management test or evaluation is so important. And if you guys haven't gone to take that test yet, which we recommended in the first series of this, you need to go to healthyinformation.com and take the test. Then you'll understand these various types, what we're talking about, and you'll pretty much know automatically where you fit in.
Yeah.
Because if you're on the wrong program, then it's an uphill battle to go downhill in weight, and it's not worth it. The combination chemistry is indeed unique because they're not only carbohydrate intolerant to a lesser extent, but they're also caloric sensitive to a lesser extent. So they're both, but not so severe. So we have to design a program that modulates both calories and carbohydrates. And we do that by not reducing calories as low as we would for a caloric person, and not reducing the carbs as low as we would for an intolerant carb person, but somewhere in between. And that usually produces fairly rapid onset weight loss. And again, the combination would be the slim cleanse, because we want to get that metabolism going.
And the blood sugar support.
Blood sugar, because they do have carb-intolerant influences. And of course, a full spectrum supplement as well.
That one seems a lot tougher to manage, but I'm sure I've seen you do it.
It is. And if someone ends up being in a combination situation, that they're much better off if they contact our research center. Or their
healthcare, or their fitness center.
Yeah, if they're going to a place that understands our concept, they can help them find the happy medium. Whether it's going to be 50 grams of carbs and 1,400 calories, or what is it going to be for them? Because it is a bit more complicated. It's not quite as cut and dried.
Yeah. And so if you're watching this in a gym or a fitness center or one of the wellness centers that carry our products, they probably already have a lot of this info, so you can probably get it there. But if you don't, and even if you do, the good place to start is that test on healthyinformation.com, because it can tell you which one of the body types that you are. And the fourth one, which is the insulin resistance diabetes. If you've been diagnosed with insulin resistance or diabetes, you know how challenging weight loss can feel. But there is good news. With the right strategies, you can work with your body and get effective results it's not the next day, but if you stick with it, it eventually will happen. I mean, because me being carbohydrate intolerance, if I never addressed it, wouldn't I be in the insulin resistance diabetes thing?
Most, not all, but most people who are carbohydrate intolerant, if it goes on long enough, it leads to insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes.
So tell us more about that.
It's the end of the road for this metabolic process. So someone who's already there, whether they have been abusive with their diet for years or decades, whether they've inherited the tendency from their parents and or grandparents, doesn't really matter. The fact is that if you're insulin resistant, you're almost always going to be fighting the battle of the bulge. You're almost always going to be in a position where you're right on the cusp, right on the edge of being diabetic. Medicine likes to call it pre-diabetes, but eventually it's going to end up full-blown diabetes. And so the program that we do for this group is very similar to carb intolerant program.
So they are, if you're in the insulin resistance
diabetes, carb intolerant.
You're carb intolerant.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other explanation for it.
Yeah.
And so what we have to do is we have to determine if the person is diabetic already and if they are on diabetic medications.
Yeah.
Because if they are, then we have to reduce carbohydrate intake slowly. Where the carbohydrate intolerant, we can just go from 200,000 carbs a day to 20.
Like what I did.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But if someone's taking diabetes medication and we reduce the carbohydrates fast, they're going to go into hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar, and that's very unpleasant.
So you got to kind of work with the balance.
We got to go down slow.
Yeah.
We usually start most diabetics at 50 to 75 grams of carbs a day and reduce them by 20 grams per week or every 2 weeks.
Yeah. And that's another thing, you can't hurry that up.
No, none of this is... Let me reiterate, which I covered in this series. The faster you lose weight, the faster you will potentially regain it once you stop. Yeah. Because it's called metabolic rebound. Your body sees that rapid weight loss as starvation, and when you start eating again, the body says, oh great, the famine is over. I better store some extra fat in case that thing comes along again. And it's not uncommon for people to regain all the weight they lost and 10 or 15 pounds more because the body's trying to protect you and itself.
Yeah, and that, to be on a side note, that kind of sounds like what's happening to these Ozempic people when they get off.
Absolutely.
They gain the same weight back and then they gain more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so now that you got a little bit of an explanation on the 4 different body types, the best thing to do is take action. You can go to that website, healthyinformation.com, and take that weight management test, see which body type you are. If they have at your fitness center or your gym or your wellness center where you're watching this, if they have the information there for you too, you can take it there. And whether it's balancing carbs or managing calories or supporting insulin health, you're basically one click away from finding out all that stuff. And don't forget to download Dr. Whiting's ebook. It's free on Amazon, and it's called The Weight Management Revolution. If you just type The Weight Management Revolution, I'll put a link either below or above, depending on where this video is. And you can, if you have Kindle, you can get it for free, I think.
Yep.
And there's hundreds of recipes perfectly suited for all 4 of the body types in there. So that's something that might be a good place to start too, and it's free. And then from there you can get ideas and work those ideas into any kind of meal prep or meal ideas. For
there's no reason to eat the same thing every day and be bored.
Yeah.
No matter what group you're in, there's a huge wide variety of things that you can do.
Yeah, and if you're at one of those wellness centers or fitness centers or gyms that carry our products, then you have it all right there. No need to go anywhere else. You can get them right there. But if not, you can always check out all those products on phoenixvitamins.com, and you can call us at 619-871-1855 for any questions and talk to a real person. And keep in mind, your transformation can really start here. This can be the year that you use science to tackle your weight loss goals and achieve
and make it happen.
And make it happen, yeah.
Yeah.
And make it happen permanently.
Yes. There's no reason to have to live in fear of regaining all the weight. We'll teach you a maintenance program that will work indefinitely. And you don't want to miss the next in this series.
Yeah, oh yeah, what's the next one?
Because I'm going to talk about something that's going to blow apart the concept of weight loss. And that is cheating on a diet.
Oh yeah, cheating. Okay, yeah, so that's the next one.
Our program not only tolerates cheating, it requires cheating.
Mandatory.
But you got to know how to do it.
Well, good deal. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment if you have any questions about this video and or any suggestions for other type of anything else in weight loss we didn't address in this video. So thanks so much.